Hello and welcome to the Matthew Allton Art channel again. This is the second real-time live drawing video that I've posted on the channel. I did the other one about a week ago. I recorded them during a live drawing session that I attend on a weekly basis over Zoom, where a model poses in front of a camera and the group all draw from those poses. You can see here that I've got the finished drawing on the left, as I did in the previous video of this series, and you can see that I'm drawing this 10-minute pose. This was a 10-minute pose again of the model in real time, so it should take about 10 minutes to actually get to the stage on the left in the drawing video on the right. I thought it was useful when I posted the first one for people to see how I create work in a non-speeded up fashion, because obviously when I'm doing a long painting I have to do time-lapse videos of that, because people don't really want to sit for 4 hours if the painting took 4 hours and watch me create that painting. But as these are short poses, and often in live drawing classes or groups they are short poses because the model can't stand still forever, especially in difficult poses that are difficult to hold, I thought it would be useful for people to see how a drawing is created in real time rather than all sped up. I was saying in the last video that you can see when it's not sped up how deliberate the marks are that I make. It looks like I'm just throwing it down really quickly when everything's sped up to 1,000 times speed or whatever I normally do them at. But you can sort of see here how deliberate I am in terms of before I commit to where something is, I'm sort of drawing it very carefully. And I said in the last video, and I've said in lots of my videos, when I'm drawing like this, I don't use a grid as some people use a grid to measure out. You can't really do that when you're doing live drawing. You possibly could when you're doing it over Zoom, because you could probably put some sort of grid over your screen. But I don't use that method, and I sort of don't use that method because I'm so used to doing live drawing and repeating it over and over again that I've got fairly accurate placement of things. And while I'm drawing, I'm tending to look for where things are in relation to each other. So for instance, on this pose you can see that the model's left shoulder is much higher than his right shoulder. Obviously that's reversed on the actual picture here because I'm looking at them. And also the nipple is on the right much lower than the left in terms of the model. So I'm looking at those sorts of things, where things are positioned in terms of horizontal and vertical as well. So where is the nipple in relation to the belly button, for instance? Where does the elbow of the left arm sit in relation to the elbow of the right arm? All those things can help, and in conjunction with sort of looking for the angles that things are at. So the forearm, for instance, what is the angle of that? If I can get all of those things right, the angles and where things are in relation to each other, it sort of triangulates the drawing or painting as you're doing it, and it tends to be fairly accurate if you're constantly checking as you're drawing, as I am doing here. And you can tell that by the hesitant nature of the mark making that I'm making. This is the second pose of the evening, and there was 5 poses in all during the session. So the session lasts about an hour and a half to 2 hours, something like that, and that's normal for a live drawing session. And you tend to get better as you go on generally. This session, it had been a few weeks since I'd done any live drawing, and so the last video that you saw was probably the worst in terms of I'm just refinding my feet and getting better at putting marks where they need to be throughout the session, really. So this is probably a better drawing and a better pose representation than the previous one that you may have seen. The poses through this session generally increased in time. So the first two that I've done the videos of were 10 minutes each. And I did these two videos because of that. You know, it's only 10 minutes of somebody's time watching it real time rather than sped up. But then the next two were 15 minutes, I think, and the last one was 25 minutes or something like that. I think this one, if you look at the left-hand finished sketch, is quite successful in terms of the body weight. You can see that the leg, the left leg of the model, which is on the right of the drawing, is forward from the right one. And the shoulder, the right shoulder is pushed backwards as well, and the left shoulder is sort of thrust forward, sort of thing. Not particularly brilliant face on this pose, but enough to make it recognisable as a human. And of course, in 10 minutes, you really can't do too much detail. But I do believe that these sorts of quick sketches that you do, and some of the life drawing groups that I attend do things like 2-minute warm-up sketches, which you'd think that you couldn't draw anything in 2 minutes. But it's amazing when you're forced to do it, how you can actually represent the pose and something of the model even in 2 minutes. It seems impossible if you're not used to life drawing, but once you've become familiar with it, you're very good at getting the most important details, structural details down in the quickest time, which is, for me, one of the points of life drawing. Just going down that leg that's further forward now. And of course, you need to, when you're doing life drawing, notice the things that make it look like it's coming forwards. The foot is slightly bigger on the leg that's pointing forwards, for instance. The shading will help indicate what is forwards from other things as well. I don't know if anybody who's watching this does life drawing regularly like I do. If you do, I'd be interested in the comments to hear about how you get proportions right, what you struggle with, what you find easy. Have you got any tips to help other people? I think I find it endlessly fascinating because it's so difficult, really. It's difficult to get it right. And I'm getting better and better at that. And even getting better at things like getting a likeness of a model in a fairly short amount of time. Not a perfect likeness, obviously. Bear in mind, this is an A4 sketch pad that I'm using with mechanical pencil here. The sort of facial features are tiny on this drawing, so it's difficult to get an accurate representation of a likeness. If I was doing a portrait on A4, it would be perhaps slightly easier to do that. But it's not about that, it's about getting the pose and the sort of a representation of what was before you. At this point, I was sort of running out, I think, from memory on the time, because you get time calls, how long you've got left throughout the session, the poses. So I very much put this arm on very last minute. But it was fairly successful. It's amazing how much you can do when you've only got 1 minute left or whatever, just to finish off the pose and make it look good. Well, that's just about the pose done now. I hope you found it useful looking at me drawing in real time rather than sped up. Just gives a different perspective on how deliberate the mark making is, whereas it looks like it's all thrown down really when everything's sped up. And I'm a genius when it's sped up. It looks like I can just do a drawing in 5 minutes. That isn't the case. Just trying to indicate the hand is the last thing before the time runs out. And again, it's indicated by just a few lines. Well, these are the other drawings that I did in the session. The first one you have seen before. If you watched the previous video, I'll put a link to that at the end of the video here if you want to see it. So that was the first pose. That was a 10-minute pose as well. The second pose was the one that you've just seen. And then the third pose was a back view, a standing back view, as you can see here. And then the fourth pose was a crouching pose. That was 15 minutes, I think, so slightly longer, as well as the back pose. That was 15 minutes. And then this final pose was 25 minutes, I think. And I started in the wrong place on this page, so I haven't got the head on this one, unfortunately. These things happen when you're in a sketch practice situation. Doesn't always go right. Well, I hope you've enjoyed watching the video. Thank you for spending the time watching it. If you have liked it, then do give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, then consider subscribing. The followers on the YouTube channel are going backwards a little bit at the moment, so it'd be great to have some more subscribers subscribe. I will be doing some more videos as soon as I can. Hope to see you soon. Bye.